This is the first in a new series of chat-style videos between myself, Jayne of Silverzone Printables, and my good friend and colleague Marian Blake of Marian's Designs. We recorded this first video for an AI summit hosted by Becky Beach in January, which can be accessed via the link below if you wish to delve more deeply into this topic. A little background: I'm based in the UK and Marianne is based in France, and we find we often come at the same thing but from different angles, and have spent many hours brainstorming and solving problems over Skype. We decided to explore some of those conversations via video for others to benefit from. Marianne produces courses, short and long, teaching people how to think outside the box to create products for sale in niches that perhaps you might not have considered. I produce videos for YouTube, courses about the Affinity Suite and digital products in general. In addition to that, we are both crafters in different niches. We intend to cover topics that are always related to digital and online publishing. We'll welcome any and all polite feedback, and we'll be happy to consider topics that you might like to hear about. Please go to the YouTube channel at Silverzone to subscribe and click the notification bell if you wish to be notified of these as they become available. Links for any relevant mentions in the video will be listed in the description below. With that said, welcome to our chats.
Okay, so welcome everybody to the rather chaotic start of our winter's chat about AI. I'm Jayne of Silverzone Printables, and this is
Marian Blake of Marian's Designs.
And we're going to chat about how you can use AI for creating in your publishing businesses to help speed up workflows and to make life more efficient for you. To start with, when Marianne and I got together and created Beyond the Black Lines course, which some of you may or may not have seen, we started looking at various ways to create the images in the background without having to sit and laboriously draw, paint, etc., create them on screen. And this is where AI came to our rescue. So we tried out various different types of AI. I had 3 different versions which were all free. Marianne had a couple which were paid for. The course covers the ones which I use. So we started off with DALL-E 3, which I use through Bing, through chat, and we'll go through and show you how to use them in a minute. And I also use Leonardo.ai, which is free, and I used AI Spark out of Creative Fabrica.
Is that free or is that paid for?
This is not free, but if you have a all-access subscription with Creative Fabrica, it is part of that subscription. So free, not free, it's not that expensive because you think of all the other things that you get with Creative Fabrica.
Okay, I use Leonardo sometimes, and I also use DALL-E 3, but I use a paid-for version with ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT Plus, whichever way you want to call it, which has DALL-E included, and I use it mainly, I use it a lot of the time for creating images for emails and things I write, because it is a great little program.
It is, I agree with that. I use that a lot for my blog posts and for my social media descriptions and things like that. It takes away that blank starting point. You haven't got to sit and think for ages, what can I write, what can I put up.
And also, if you're using DALL-E in chat, you only have to give a very simple prompt and you get a very good image out. So for very little work, you get a good image out. So you don't have to spend hours thinking what you've got to put in as your positive prompts and your negative prompts.
Yeah. And also you can use ChatGPT to create your prompts for you, can't you?
Yeah. So, it's a win-win in some way. So you can use ChatGPT or Gin and Tonic for
like to call it,
yeah, as we call it, Chat Gin and Tonic, to create prompts quite easily. And if you've only got Chat 3, that's fine. Use that to create your prompts, and then use one of the other methods that we're going to talk about to make the images. If you've got Chat 4, then you can just do it from Chat 4 and do the whole lot in DALL-E and Chat in one site.
Okay. So along the way, we're going to show you how you can get different images by using the same prompt in what's virtually the same program, but just in accessing it in a different way. For example, DALL-E through ChatGPT 4 and through Bing gives you completely different results with exactly the same prompt, doesn't it?
It does indeed. And it might be an idea if you show them how to do it in Bing, and then I can show them the results I've got through DALL-E, because I'm not sure I can get to that page on the computer while we're recording. So
Okay.
I'm a novice at this. I'm quite happy to say that some of the time I don't know what I'm doing. With this, I'm not totally sure.
Well, join the club, because I usually feel my way as I go anyway. So bear with us, people. We will get there in the end. Right, I will just open up a window for DALL-E 3 through, and I have to use it through Explorer because it is a Microsoft option. Let's bring that in.
So does that mean to say that when you have Microsoft 365, it's an option you can use with that? Or if you have a Microsoft account, you can use it with that?
You have to have a Microsoft account because you have to be logged into Microsoft to be able to access Bing's chat, and that's where you need to be to get hold of DALL-E 3.
And if you don't know what Bing's chat is it's just Microsoft's chat version.
It is, yeah. So if I share my screen, and let's click on that one, start sharing.
And as if by magic it appears. Great.
We've come into Microsoft Explorer because that's where you need to be to access the DALL-E 3 through Bing. And if I type Bing into the search engine, you come up with the URL for Bing. Click on Bing, and it's asked me anything. Now you need the chat in here, which is up in the top menu. Click on the chat, and then you have the option to put in a prompt for creating an image.
Okay, we've both done a few for autumn scenes, but before we started I did one for underwater. And I'll just get you what I said, which was create a soft focus image of the undersea in pastel colours, no text.
Focus image
in pastel for under the sea in
pastel
colours, no text.
Okay, let's see what that comes up with.
And you just have to wait. Depending on your internet connection, who's using it and things like that, this will take a few seconds to a few minutes, and you just have to be patient, don't you?
Yeah, and that's its holding time.
Okay, because that looks nothing like Under the Sea.
It doesn't, does it? The first time I saw that, I wondered what it was up to.
And when you described it to me, I thought, huh?
Logical, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sand timer.
Yeah, but you thought they could actually do one with the sand going through. Oh, there you go.
There we go. So, 4 images, nice pastel colours, and under the sea scene, and looks like I can go back and say add some fish to it, make the background darker, etc.
Okay. Now, if you stop sharing screen and I share my screen.
Okay. Right, stopped.
Okay, and I share my screen. Start sharing. And if I go to ChatGPT, I did that one. And can you see the screen? Can you see the image or not? So don't worry if
Yes.
you
Can see the image.
Okay.
Very, very pretty image.
And it's fairly similar to some of the ones that you had, but not exactly the same. I then sort of played a bit and said, create an image of under the sea in pastel colours, no text, but I left out soft focus, and I got this one here, which I still think is really good.
Very pretty.
And you could add black lines to that to make the outlines a bit more dominant if you wanted to.
You could, yeah. I mean, better, more so than the one I've got. So it kind of implies that you get what you pay for, really, doesn't it? That if you use the Chat GPT-4, you're going to get a better response to the prompt than you do through the Bing version.
Yeah.
I think the Bing version works quite well, but you do have to be a bit more persistent with it and play with it a bit more than we've done just here.
And I think that shows that even with very short and sweet prompts, which, to be honest, when you look at some of the prompts that you can use for something like Leonardo, which can be 4 or 5 lines long with 6 or 7
masses of negative prompts.
Well, negative prompts, and you probably won't get much better than that.
No, and we'll try that in a minute just to see for a comparison. In fact, we could do that one next.
Okay, so if you share your screen and then get on and show us what you're going to do. But I think the one thing you've got to be, we've got to say is none of them are perfect, and you've got to choose which one you want to play with, or whether you want to play with all of them, and then choose the image you like. I like DALL-E 3 because of what it can do for me for blog post images and newsletter images.
Yeah.
And also having seen what it can do with beyond the black lines, so colouring in images, then, or reverse colouring images, I think it's also very good. And it doesn't take long to do.
No.
And now Leonardo's been around for 6 months or so, because we've been playing with it for that long and showing each other images.
Long
and
before Christmas.
Yeah. And it is a great little program, which is expanding and getting better and adding more features all the time.
So this is the homepage of Leonardo. Now, if you haven't been to Leonardo before, you will need to create an account, and that's very simple to do. You just literally need to click on the button that says create an account, and where you used to have to wait a couple of weeks before they let you in, now you get in almost immediately.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Took me about 10 days.
Yeah, right at the beginning. It did me too, but I tried it with a different account a little while later, and it was in that day, so it was certainly much quicker. Now, they've got lots of new different things, and this is the community feed, and as we will show you later on, the community feed is pretty much public domain. You can click on any of these and see the prompts that were put in and what it came out with as a result. Some of them are quite spectacular if you're into this sort of imagery.
It seems to be a lot of people into fantasy images have a great time with this program.
It's definitely reminiscent of Aquaman there.
Yeah, and also the wave next door to it.
Yeah, that's very reminiscent of the Japanese art. Do you remember?
That's it.
It's in public domain as well. Okay, so if I go to image generation, this is where my images are stored. And these are the autumn images that we were talking about that we created a few days ago when we were doing this comparison with different prompts in different programs. And these are some I did before, which are part of the Beyond the Black Lines course that we've done. So if I now add in the prompt that we've just used, let's take that one out. Sorry, Marian, can you read that out again?
Okay, it is create a soft focus image of under the sea in pastel colours, no text.
And let's see what Leonardo gives us. Now, I've just left that on the default settings, and I've only asked for one image. In Leonardo, you get 150 tokens a day. It takes a while to use them up, so each day it regenerates. So if you haven't used them all, you get it topped up again.
And the number of tokens you use depends on whether you use photoreal or alchemy, which is down the left-hand side, and what image size you go to as well. Okay,
so this is what it's come up with, and you can see it's much quicker if you have it on, I actually had it on quite a high resolution to 1024 by 768, but that's not a bad image. So in order to make sure, if you want to use this image for yourself and you don't want anybody else to use it, our recommendations are to download the image in whatever size resolution you want. It doesn't cost you any more to download it. You can upscale it, it will cost you tokens to do that. But download it and then come back here and delete it. And then you're the only one who has access to it. So not total copyright, because obviously that can be nicked from somewhere else, but it does kind of make it fairly secure for you.
It stops people from taking it from the community feed.
It does. It does. I'm not sure where this would come up on the community feed. I've never seen any of mine in the community feed, but maybe that's because too many others come along afterwards.
And also, it may not be the genre that people are going for, but if you're going to do something like in the science fiction genre that people are, which is very popular, it's more likely to come up. And one of the things we're aware of is use of images and who can use them and who can't. And I think this comes under that sort of heading. We're trying to make sure that you're the first person, it may not be the last person, but you're definitely the first person to use the image because you have created it.
Exactly. And also, like all of these, although these are the free plans, you can pay and upgrade your plans, as you can see here, and you'll get priority generations, although I've got to say that generated really quickly. And you'll get additional token credits, etc. If I click on the upgrade plan, you can see what it costs and what extras that you get. So you go from 150 daily tokens to 8,500 monthly tokens. You've got to be doing a lot of images to use up all of those, and you get all these extra things in as well. Now, Leonardo's just brought out something called Leonardo Motion, which I have yet to play around with, but from what I could see, gives you static images with moving backgrounds. And I'm just looking to see if I can click on that anywhere.
You have to go back to the beginning, to AI inside.
Yeah. Motion, new. And it gives you a little video, shows you what it's about.
So,
it's quite interesting.
So it probably won't be any good for obviously creating colouring book images because they're static, but it could be really good fun if you're creating images for short videos or Pinterest accounts or all sorts of things. You've got something that is relatively unique to you.
Absolutely. For those of you who maybe like me create videos for YouTube channels, ideal to be able to put examples into your videos to make them a little bit more unique. And there's other things that you can do in here as well. So I'll stop sharing that one.
Okay, now the third alternative that we went through in the course, well, you went through in the course, was Creative Fabrica. Creative Fabrica is a great website. I belong to it and pay a yearly fee to belong to it because you get the rights to images that other people, and not just images, but planner in internals and all sorts of things that other people have created. But the downside of it is other people can use the same thing. So you have to weigh up whether you want to use it or not. If you use the Creative Fabrica, I think it's Content Sparks?
Creative Spark.
Creative Sparks. Then you can create your own images, and if you then like them, you could then put them up for sale, and that could be another way of earning money without making colouring books. But that choice is yours. This is Creative Spark. I haven't used it, Jayne has, so she's going to talk me through this. So I'm going to just write the prompt, which is create a spaces soft focused image of under the sea. That's a bit more verbal than we had before. Oh, not udder.
Or if, not if, of.
Okay. I wish I learned to touch type. Okay, so hit ignite.
Did you want to put pastels in there?
We'll do that next time.
Okay. Yes, ignite.
And it's generating. So it had 2 errors and then it's generating. And there we are, they're very dominant. So we're going to say soft focus pastel in pastel colours. And let's see what happens there. And we're generating another 2 here. Well, we're generating 4 by the looks of it, of which 2 don't come. They obviously don't want to come again. And you have 2 very different images. I can't see that that is under the sea.
No,
I can
not me, that's more like the sky.
and I can see that is under the sea a bit, but I'm not impressed with that, I must admit. I think you're going to have prompting would be more.
I think you need to be more specific in the prompts.
Okay, so soft of under the sea, coral garden. Let's see what happens then. And I wouldn't say that is soft focus.
No, I agree.
And I wouldn't actually say that is pastel colours either.
That's a shame, because I'd got quite good results last time I tried it.
But it does give you an idea that you can use it to create the images. And as we've said, you can then sell, if the images are good, you can then sell them, you can publish them and sell them within Creative Fabrica. Now if we add watercolour to that.
I was going to say, I think that watercolour choice was probably one I chose.
And it could well be that it gives a much better image.
Yeah.
Sort of. Quite like the image, but I'm not sure it would be good for what we intended, which is reverse colouring. That one maybe.
No, but it might give ideas for people for covers for books.
True. Very true.
And if you wanted to use backgrounds, for example, Alessandro, his name's gone, guy.
Yes, I know, and I can't remember his surname either. Hell, I can hardly remember my name sometimes.
Okay, there's a background background empire product that he has, which is quite useful for creating covers, other things within various books.
Yeah, and although I say you probably couldn't use that one as a reverse colouring book page, you could use it as a background and then make it more transparent and do a little bit of jiggery pokery using affinity products to make that much better as an overlay or something like that, or a background.
Well, also, it might be worth putting our original prompt into ChatGPT and asking for an alternative and see what it comes up with and see whether that changes the outcome.
Okay, so let me just copy that. Go to chat. I'm going to be on 4, so it's just going to be what it will be. So let's do that. New chat. Please rewrite this prompt for, what was it called? Creative Spark?
Yes.
And see what happens. That was a lot bigger.
It is, isn't it?
Okay, let's copy it.
Try putting that in.
And try putting that in. So we will go for here, get rid of that, Control V, delete that, Control V. Thank you. ignite, and see what happens.
I have finally managed to get in.
Now that's much better.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah, that second one would be ideal for a reverse colouring page. So it looks like Spark needs to have a much better prompt, more detailed prompt than we were originally putting in.
Whereas the other ones seem to work quite well without too much prompting. So,
yeah.
But if you have a normal chat GPT, you can just decide what you want to put in and then do a simple prompt into chat GPT and say it's for Creative Spark, or it's for Leonardo if you wanted something a bit more expansive, or if you go to Midjourney or any of the other ways that you can create images, and just get chat to write you a better prompt. I suppose I'm lazy, which is why I'm quite happy to use DALL-E.
Well, it's what you've got. You already pay for it, so you might as well use the one that gives you the best results, and that's what I'd advise anybody to do.
Okay.
I like some of the things that I can get out of Spark just because I use it for different things, not just the reverse colouring. If you'd like to swap screens a minute, I will show you what I came up with.
Well, I'll stop sharing mine. Okay, confirm stop sharing.
Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Right, so these are what I produced for the Beyond the Black Lines course. Now, I think I used one of the butterfly ones, but I didn't use the others because they were too dark. But the point being that I could take these images and tone them down using Affinity. I didn't have to have them as dark as they were.
Yes.
Within Creative Spark as well, to download, you have to click on Publish and then Generate Private Download. It's a longer process, so you sort of go through 2 steps to get it down to your computer, and then you can come back here and delete them as well. Just wanted to add that bit in and just show what the difference was.
Okay.
Okay, so if I now stop sharing.
Okay, now the last thing we wanted to chat to people about was copyrights. As we've kind of implied over the last 20 minutes or so, or however long this video is going to be, you can create images using AI, but they're not yours. And anybody has the right to use them because they're all in the public domain. I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to show you a bit of information that I've found. And we're going to say that one. And we're going to go for this. And I did it in a fancy script because I just like playing. In the United States and the European Union and most other countries, copyright law protects original works of art, original works of authorship. Now, authorship could be written or it could be pictorial, so it covers all bases. But in America, there are 3 criteria that has to cover. And it has to be an original work of authorship, it has to be created by a human being, and it has to be fixed in a tangible medium. Now, the trouble with anything from ChatGPT or DALL-E or any of the other programs we've been talking about is it's not made by a human being. That's the whole idea. It's made by AI. So it doesn't conform to these rules. And there was a court case that went through to the District Court of District Columbia. So District Columbia is Washington, D.C. And they made their first federal court decision on it. And the judge there said that US Copyright Office can basically say that images created by artificial intelligence are not copyrightable.
And that's understandable, really, isn't it? Nobody's put a great deal of their own time into it. They put the initial prompt in and the machine's done the rest.
Yeah, and if you're like us, the machine's done the initial prompt as well. So it is totally not done by humans. So it's in the public domain and anybody can use them. So that's okay. But then there's the other side to creating images, which is taking an image, whether public domain or copyrightable, and using it for something else. And there is a section in the Copyright Act in America of 1976 that says that a derivative work is based on one or more pre-existing works, such as translation, musical arrangement, dramatization, fictionalization, motion picture version, sound recording, art reproduction, abridgment, condensation, etc., 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 that has been recast, transformed, or adapted. A work consisting of editorial revisions, annotations, elaborations, or other modifications which, as a whole, represent an original work of authorship is a derivative art. So, what does that mean for we content creators if we're creating our images through artificial intelligence? It basically means that if we take one or two images and change them, now you're going to have to change them significantly. You're not going to have to just tweak the transparency or change the one colour or something like that. You've got to make an effort into changing it. So if you put two images together, then you've made an effort. And then you have created an original work of art. It's taken two public domain images and you have changed them enough to make them a new image, and as a new image it then becomes copyrightable. Now, to me, owning my own copyright is of limited benefit, so it doesn't bother me that other people are going to use it as long as I get to use it first. But to other people, it does mean that they have the rights to the image. I think for colouring books, it's not such a big deal, but there are other things that it will be a big deal on, and that could be things like print on demand, things like mugs, etc.
Yeah.
So whilst for colouring books, which is what we've been basically alluding to the whole of this talk, it's probably not such a big deal because nobody is probably going to mix things the same way as you are or create exactly the same thing you do, and so therefore chances are the buying public will not get bored with your image. But if you create a design that is going to go onto a mug, a book cover, a wall art, a pair of leggings, the satchel on top of, say, sneakers, and or other things that you can get on print on demand these days, blankets, etc., then you may want to have something that is copyrightable. So you may want to have the original image in your name, and I think this is where this comes in. You have to do something to the image that you get from AI to make it yours, but once you have, it is yours.
And it's still very much a muddy area, but on the whole, I think that explains it rather well. I've mixed images together in several different ways through our recent course, Beyond the Black Lines. And I think we've already shown that if you use the same prompt as somebody else, you're going to get different results, no matter which program you use. So even then, you're not going to have exactly the same as the first thing that was done. If you then choose to mix it with a second image, then straight away it becomes something far more original. No two people are going to pick up the same two images to mix together. So I think it gives you a whole new scope to be able to create and publish the kind of books that we do.
Yeah, and also to expand into other fields if you feel that you need to or want to.
Yeah. We've provided with this video a PDF, which is the step-by-step version of our course, Beyond the Black Lines, and that gives you a more definitive process to follow through. And if you wanted to explore it even further with the course, then there will be a link for that in the PDF that we supply. Other than that, I think we possibly covered all we can about the best ways to get into using AI for imagery.
I think so. I think we've covered a fair bit, and I would just like to say I'd like to thank you for spending the last 15-20 minutes with us, learning a little bit more about AI imaging and how you can use very simple prompts and more complicated prompts to get really great images for basically whatever you want.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marianne.
And thank you, Jayne, for yours.